listeners. Welcome to the fifth episode of
Rhinestoned.
Rhinestone. We were off last week for Thanksgiving, but we are so excited to be back. There is so much to talk about. But
Really
first,
is.
how was your Thanksgiving? We were together.
See my sis.
We
That
had a
was
good time.
honestly the best.
Yeah, it was
That
fun.
it's so good. No, Nicole came out to California, and I think the most fun thing for me is just to see you interacting with the babes. I just love watching Aunt Colleen work.
My beautiful nieces. You make
Oh
them good, Nay.
my
You
God.
really
And
do.
yeah, we got Nicole brought us some talk about TV. Unicorn Academy just hit Netflix, winter solstice episode. So that's a big hit in my house. And so Nicole got a Unicorn Academy gift for my oldest. And it was so funny because then after Black Friday, right? So it was time to buy gifts. And my daughter had gone through the Amazon book that everyone gets and circled and stickered stuff. And
I
so I
left that for mom. I brought it and I was like, here, take this.
right, inspo. And so I was going through it to kind of just go, okay, what did she? I told her to circle, star, and sticker. So like circle is like interested, double star is like want it, sticker is like I would be sad if I didn't have it. She only got 5 stickers, by the way.
Okay, nice. You
Um,
limited it.
so there was a sticker on the Unicorn Academy. And I was dying. I was like, oh my God, she wanted this thing so bad. She had already stickered it
Oh,
in the Amazon,
that makes me so happy though. I
right?
feel like I have I don't know, I'm really proud of myself with these gifts over the
Yeah,
years. I
did
feel like
where
I'm
did you
tapped
is
in.
that an Amazon just like push that to you? Where did you even see that?
Yeah, no, I got the Amazon book in the mail and I
Okay.
usually toss most of my mail as one does. And I saw the book and I was like, I have two nieces and maybe this would help me out. So then one day I just sat through and I went through it and I was like, what would she like? What would she like? And I realized that was the cutest thing. You know what it was? It reminded me of Barbie Dreamboat
Oh my,
and not like or the Barbie houses, just when we would get a new toy that was like a full set,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And I just wanted her to have that same kind of magical experience that you and I would have, where like that was enough to occupy us for weeks.
Well, I got the Barbie Dreamboat for my 7th birthday. I remember so clearly. And the awesome part about that was that it floated.
I remember.
I'm gonna
And do you remember how to blender on the top?
so we would literally those plastic pools. We would fill one of those plastic pools up in the backyard and we would put the boat inside of that plastic pool and it would
Yep.
like in the plastic pool and we would pretend that I don't know where it was going, but it was going somewhere and it was serving marks.
I was just gonna say that's just exactly what a 7-year-old needs, just back there in the backyard.
Making
Gotta
daiquiris.
blend up the margaritas.
I don't know what we were doing, but it was hot. And that's the 90s, kids.
What's crazy is there's someone out there that like came up with the idea for that toy, and I would love to know that story. Like it's probably something ridiculous where they're like,
I always think about
"Oh,
that when in Frozen, one of the first songs is Kristen Bell singing about how excited she is that finally the gates are open. And she says a line that's something like, why have a ballroom without any balls? And it's like, she was on I think it was like Smartless or something. And she was talking about, like, I cannot believe we got that lyric in a ballroom without balls. And I was like, yeah, that was one for the parents. We don't.
yes, exactly." Well, that's exactly it. That's the story, right? I bet that it was like some sort of inside joke that they
Little
put it in for
cheeky.
the parents or something like that. That way there was something for them to do while the kids were playing. But well,
Oh,
that warms my heart to know that she had already picked it. I love that. And yeah, no, it was so great being out in Cali and just getting to spend time with
and for our
family.
listeners, tell us a little bit just about your like airport experience. Was it crazy? Did you find it to be smooth sailing from New York to
Oh, I
California?
yeah, no, I lucked out except actually on the way back, but no, like
Hmm.
coming was pretty painless. I think my flight was a little bit late, but it was like not late in leaving the gate. It just took forever
Okay.
to get into, the runway for takeoff.
Okay.
Coming back, you know, The unfortunate thing about all of my flying experiences is like whenever you think something really good is happening, it usually means that something really bad is coming after. So I
Yeah.
get on the plane and for everyone, I was flying from Sacramento to Newark. I get on the plane and they're like, this flight's going to be 4 hours and 40 minutes. So I'm like, what? This is incredible. We were supposed to
Awesome.
land at like 7:39 or something like that.
Mm.
So we're just speeding ahead. We end up landing at 7:04. Of course, we spend a bunch of time waiting for a gate. But again, it still wasn't that bad. It's like maybe 7:20, 7:25. I get off. Um, I walk to baggage claim. My bag actually comes kind of quickly.
Well,
Um,
golden.
my boyfriend had warned me that like the Uber situation was going to be crazy. Ubers were going to take forever. No, I call my Uber. I walk outside. It's already there. I get into the Uber. It took me 2.5 hours
No,
to
no,
get from
no.
Newark Airport home. Half of my flight time I spent getting into the city.
May I ask what the Uber fare is on something like that?
I don't know if I got charged for how long it ended up taking. When I booked it, it was $92, which is like pretty
Standard.
standard.
Okay.
I'll have to look back and see if it was increased as time went on, but like, talk about a
Were you just
buzzkill.
pulling your hair out?
It was funny, mom and dad asked me that, and I just feel like, I don't know, just because of like years of traveling, traumatic
Yeah,
events, I'm really good at going to a Zen place.
good.
Like I can start to feel it, and I just like, I
Yeah,
don't even know how to explain it. I just go someplace mentally
yeah.
that helps me through moments like that. And we're
That's
not just
really good.
talking about silly things like traffic, like even more serious stuff, right? Like when you have to go to the doctor and do things you don't want to do or whatever it
Mhm.
might be. I don't know. It's like the one skill I'm proud of myself because I can just kind of, but it's only in those situations. Most of the
Okay,
time
well,
I'm
you're
pretty
gonna
hyped
have to
up.
teach me how to do that. You're gonna have to teach me how to do that because I need help with that. I need
Yeah.
help.
So that was not fun. But no, I mean like the trip was great. We missed you in Napa. I went with my parents to Napa for a day and a half, which was really nice. So it was good. Now back here and it's we're supposed to be having like Arctic weather, so it's freezing.
It is freezing here as well. It is quite cold.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm already ready for summer, but the good thing is that there is a lot of just great TV, celebrity news that has been happening. There's really like so much. It was so hard today, even like deciding what we're going to talk about. But I want to go back a little bit because we skipped last week and just touch on the whole Dancing with the Stars, Whitney getting this role in Chicago. Like, what is
Oh my goodness.
happening?
And I would like to, well, okay.
First of all, did you think Robert Irwin? I really was like half paying attention. I don't really watch. I believe it's rigged. Um,
Well, that's and yes. And I think
so
that that's why Robert Irwin did win. Was
yeah,
he quite good? Yes, he was very good. Was he better than Alex Earl and Whitney?
no. I think production at the start was like, oh, wouldn't it be such an amazing story to say that we had a brother and sister who both won?
Right.
And wouldn't that just be so great for press and
Yes.
la di da di da. So I think Whitney was robbed. You sent me her appearance though. She got to do her final dance on Call
On
Her
Call Her
Daddy.
Daddy.
Epic. I've watched it like 3 times now.
And I really truly do mean this, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. That's a Super Bowl halftime performance. Both her and Alex Earl. I mean, if we really think about, and I know Rihanna was pregnant, so like, and she's never been a mover and a shaker,
No.
noted, right? But like, if you just compare, it's like standing on a platform, going up and down and singing, that's a Super Bowl performance, or what we saw on Call Her Daddy. I mean, the emotion, the story behind it,
Totally.
and that is what is so beautiful about dance. It is story and movement. And
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
I was really taken aback by the quality. I think also it's just it's so funny to think about Dancing with the Stars being this like show that is incredibly corny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also they don't ever skew towards like, okay, obviously the foxtrot is boring, so we're not, no, they just continue to do the foxtrot. Like they don't care. Like they
No.
just do ballroom and really stick to ballroom. Yeah. To go back to the Robert Irwin thing really quickly, I did see something. So when I see something, I saw a TikTok um, that was explaining that like what we have to understand is that Robert Irwin is like the Prince of Australia. Like
Yeah.
he can do no wrong and he is a huge celebrity there. So
Yeah.
it's no mystery that like as far as votes go, I mean, he could have been getting millions and pound millions of votes. And
But
Alex
see, so
Earl
this is
doesn't.
where I question it. And I think I am saying this partly because of some comments I saw on Dumas, right? Where someone had written in and said that like they've been on behind the scenes of like production of a lot of these shows.
Mhm.
And they basically were saying all of the voting is fake.
I
Like
could see that.
they let you do it and obviously make you think you're participating and all of that, but like it's not a real thing that they're checking in on. It doesn't impact how any of the voting lands. It's all just, and the reason I kind of believe that is just because like yes, we know like in the beginning with reality TV, maybe things were sort of like happening authentically because people didn't
American
really
Idol.
know what they were doing yet and these formats were so new. But I think
Yeah.
now, like just the world we live in, there's no way that these production arms are leaving this stuff up to chance.
So
Like that
my
just wouldn't make any sense because then they wouldn't be able to control the narratives that they put out about the show. Then they're just like having to roll with the punches of what's happening every week. And that just doesn't
yeah,
make sense when you have such a big machine behind the show. Like,
yeah.
surely they're having to make these calls ahead of time.
I think so. I watch Amazing Race with my husband, and the same thing, right? When there's a team that is doing really well,
Yeah.
suddenly they get to the mat. Oh, it's a non-elimination round. Don't worry, you're running, and
It's all good. You're still in it.
it's like really because they're bringing in hundreds of thousands of viewers or tens, I guess more tens of thousands of viewers. I don't think anything gets hundreds of thousands of views anymore. So yeah, I completely agree with you. That's just production stepping in and saying it is week 3. We need these people on until week 13.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
100%.
you know?
So I think, we have to give Whitney her flowers. I think that it's incredible. First of all, I doubt this is going to be the end for her. I think, like, I even saw a clip of her on the red carpet the other day where she was saying, I think they were asking her, like, what is your dream? What's next? And she was like, I want to be in the movies with just like the most seriousness. Like, so I won't be surprised if that happens. But I think what is more interesting to me that I wanted to chat with you about is sort of like the Hulu ABC Disney machine right now with like
Big
these
fuck.
reality shows. Whoever is programming these shows needs to get a raise.
I
Because
agree.
and specifically Secret Lives of Mormons is so fascinating to me, both in terms of whoever was able to pluck these women out of obscurity and then also the ways in which the women have leveraged the opportunities that have come their way.
Oh my
It
God.
is so, so crazy to
I
think
know.
about all of this started because of a TikTok about swinging and a scandal, for things that they were already doing probably years prior, right? And now we have Taylor as the Bachelorette, Whitney and Jen going into Dancing with the Stars,
Double two
Whitney
two
moving
women from the same
on
show and Dancing with the Stars. Crazy.
it's just wild, right? I think it's just and I in some ways it kind of like goes to show too like why people have become so crazy about becoming famous or
Mhm.
trying to grow their followings on social because we are living in a world where like you might just be handed a platform that is going to help you get into a bigger place. And like I
Yeah.
do think it's wild like this is like Whitney in particular is like a mom of what, 2, 3 now? Like had a background in dancing, had a background in acting, but basically is just living in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, Salt Lake people, but
Oh,
like you
sorry.
are in the middle of nowhere as far as I'm concerned. And now is suddenly what? Like going to be a Hollywood star? Like I think it just shows like I'm sure if you're like a genuine actor, you probably are the most discouraged you've ever been right now.
Oh my God. And
Why
you
take
know,
that traditional path?
okay, so then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just like it's a tangent, but it's totally related to what you're talking about because I was listening to one of my favorite recap podcasts, and they were talking about Vanita on Southern
Yeah,
Charm, and how obviously, let me caveat this by saying a lot is stacked against Vanita, and there's a lot
so
of
much.
problematic stuff
So
happening.
much.
But also, Vanita fails at like making a storyline happen for herself. She's
Yeah.
always taking the wrong route to the storyline,
Yeah.
right? It's like, and I think that that's what's so fascinating to me is like she's had 6 years to make that happen, still can't make a storyline. Whitney's had like a couple of episodes of one show and is able to just take that and run with it. And it does just show, like, much like Kim Kardashian, I think is similar, right? There are some people that are just marketing geniuses and just know how
100%.
to position themselves in a way that's going to get them to the next step and also get them to something that they want to do. Because listen, I think it's easy if you just want to be a reality star. I think that might be a bit more easy than we think. Like if you want to embarrass yourself, right?
Yeah,
If you
totally.
want to go on
Or
there,
expose every aspect of your life.
right? Like I think, but what Whitney is doing is saying, okay, did that for a season, didn't really love that. So what I'm going to do is take that and parlay it into something I actually want to do,
Yeah.
which is using my talents. And she does have a degree in dance. Now it is like a
Yeah.
modern dance degree, but whatever. So this has obviously been a passion for her. I would say good for her because yeah, I think the other alternative is the road that she's looking at Mormon Wives is say that continues on for like 5 seasons.
Yeah.
She's going to have to continue to just peel back more and more layers. And I would worry that then the layers become okay, now the kids are getting older. And we've seen this on Housewives too, right? Where it's like, um, not Gina from OC, the other one, Hip and Casita. Who's her friend?
Emily.
Emily, where now it's like Emily doesn't really have a storyline, nor has she ever had a storyline.
No.
So the storyline this season became about her son, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, does that need to really be the storyline though?
Or do
Like,
we like really care? Like,
do we care? Is that something that he wants out in the world? So yeah, just like major kudos to parlaying it. Alex Earl,
and also, I have to give her credit too on the most recent season for being honest about it. I mean, anyone who's watching the show knows like
right?
she's kind of removed from mom talk at the start of the season. And when she
Yeah,
comes back and they ask her why, she flat out says, I heard there was an opportunity to audition for Dancing with the Stars.
and I'm gonna,
And she just tells them all that. And then they just have to sit with that, right? But I think that that worked to her favor because she's just being honest,
yeah,
right? And I think like good for her to know that it was advantageous to come back so that she could go audition for this show. It's so interesting. So I know you didn't see the reunion Stassi Schroeder
right.
hosted, which I thought was an improvement over Nick Viall. I like him, but I just like Stassi better, I think. It was very weirdly edited, like very choppy. I think they kind of did a service to Saucy. Like, I heard they were filming for 12 hours and the reunion's only an hour long.
Okay.
So there was just a lot of moments where, they're addressing, Jen and Brett and Demi and their whole issue and the whole scandal with Marciano. And it would just get to a contentious place. And Stassi's like, well, I don't think we're going to be able to solve that today. And that felt like that happened like 5 times
Mhm.
during the episode. So it was a little like, as a viewer, I felt like it was a little disappointing to watch because
Yeah,
every time it started to get heightened and you thought like, oh, this is going to give us some good television, Stassi would shut it down. So I
interesting.
saw someone say that the reason they think this is happening is because obviously they're trying to hold a lot of the drama for season 4. But I think
Okay.
just circling back to the Whitney conversation, the thing that I am most fascinated to see play out now in the next season is what the dynamic is going to be now that some of these women are becoming more famous, right? Because
Right.
now you're having like quite a discrepancy between the opportunities that some of the women are getting and like this is Demi's whole problem. Like she's spinning out
Correct.
because none of the money is coming her way and it's like, well, Demi,
Right.
you're a whole horrible person and no one wants to work with you. So maybe try working on that first.
Demi,
But
we're tolerating you right now. Okay.
yeah, I think like Taylor obviously has been the queen of mom talk. She started it. So I think her being on The Bachelorette, like I don't really envision that changing much. I think they look at her as the leader and some of the other them like are married anyway. So of course they wouldn't be having an opportunity like that. Where I am really curious to see how it's going to play out is Whitney. Because I think
Same.
like now
Same.
with just this level of opportunity coming her way, I'll just be really curious to see like what the dynamics are going to be and how that's going to impact some of their, just social standings and things like that with each other.
Well, and here's the one thing that I do think about a little bit. Madison LaCroix was on Watch What Happens Live with Austin
Yes.
Full. Didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the snippets,
I
right?
watched half of it. Yeah.
Okay. And so he asked her about the Aaron Hernandez of it all in her DMs. Aaron Hernandez was the football player that killed everyone. Oh my God.
I think you mean A-Rod.
Hey, Rod. Okay. Um, so and I was thinking about that with Whitney. Like, this is, I do think, what happens though, and maybe the stuff that we're not privy to, and I'm just like speculating, right?
Yeah.
But that it is as your star rises, you're getting, I would assume there is going to be opportunities, even romantic opportunities, that are going to start to come out of the woodwork. And it's all it is like some guy with a little bit of,
Yeah.
coin in his pocket, sitting there on the road watching Dancing with the Stars, and suddenly he's in your wife's DMs, like that is the part where I guess even like if I'm being really honest, like say I got to a point in the world where someone came to me, like I was notable, which I wouldn't even want to be, but say you and I were notable
Yeah.
in the sense that someone would come up to you and be like, "Do you want to be on this?" I think I would always say no because I've never seen it affect your family in a positive way.
No,
I've seen it affect careers, businesses,
totally.
earning potential, but like kids and husbands, ooh, like I'm
Always the ones that are, yeah, it's never gonna survive. No, I
yeah,
think
like
it'll be really interesting. I think for now, like with Whitney and her husband, it seems like they're together all the time. Like he always seems to sort of be like in the background. But I agree. I mean, like she's gonna have to move to New York for a period of time. Does that mean the whole family is going? Like there's so many just
there's
I'm
questions.
very as a avid secret life Sir Mormon. Is that what it is? Secret Wives? Oh,
Yeah,
now I don't even remember.
let you know what.
I can't wait. I just can't wait for this next season. I think this is going to be the best one yet. I really
And I
hope we're going to get
also
this
think
behind the
too, it's
scenes
like
stuff.
it's just so interesting. Just and we'll talk about other stuff, but about reality because that's kind of what we're gonna focus on as far
Oh
as
yeah, we have to get to the Kardashians.
yeah. But it is like okay, let's get to the Kardashians because I'll make my point then. Go or not.
Okay.
Next.
So, well, just again to the point of like the Hulu universe is on fire right now. So obviously Kardashians were like what, a quarter of the way into the season.
Uh-huh.
This
Mhm.
episode, this week, totally dedicated to Kim and the Paris robbery. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I just so many things.
So
It
many
was
the
hard to
Kanye of it.
watch. I felt
Yeah.
it like very hard to. It was very heavy watch.
Heavy.
Like, but also fascinating. So I think they did
Also
a good job
fascinating.
like with the editing.
Yeah, our Kimmy, it's such a it's like okay, it's heavy. It's she's bringing you into this story, right? And then we get a clip of her getting literally like fitted in jewels for the court date and it's like that's our Kim.
Yep.
That's our girl,
That's what I actually really respected her for that, and like that whole scene too where she was talking about like she hates when people tell her what to do, what to wear, like I
Yeah.
think it was bold of her and brave to say like F these guys and F what
Yes.
my team is telling me, like I'm just gonna go in as me.
Yeah.
But I mean, you and I were watching the show when it happened. So some of it was like going back to that and just remembering like some of the footage that they had around that time. One thing I think was really interesting that I'd sort of forgotten about, and that to me was probably the more interesting part of the episode, was just that her best friend had been there. I don't think we've ever gotten that story of like how they met. That was like cracking me up. It's
Yeah.
funny because we're going to talk about Beverly Hills Housewives a little later, and I don't know if you noticed that Faye Resnick made
Mhm.
an appearance on Beverly
Mhm.
Hills last night.
Mhm.
But just imagine that story. You're 12 years old. Faye Resnick brings you to Kris Jenner's house and then tells you to wait upstairs for her daughter, and you just go up to a girl's room who you've never met. Like I was even trying to think growing up if mom would have ever done that.
Oh yeah.
Like sent someone to go wait in our room for us. Like
No.
that would have never happened. So I thought
No,
that in its
absolutely
of
not.
itself was interesting. Then this girl walks in and it's Kim Kardashian, and you form a lifelong friendship with her. Like that to me was like such a great Hollywood story. I was like,
Yes.
okay, sure. Of course this is how they met. I
I
was
know.
really happy. So I'm sure you were probably thinking the same thing, and this is where I wanted to get your thoughts about this. And this it's a tough thing to talk about without like passing judgment, but as I was watching the episode, I think it's natural for anyone to be thinking, why didn't she go upstairs? Why, like, as she's telling the story and as it's sort of progressing, right? And like you start to get a sense of the timeline a little bit. I think naturally, like that thought pops into your head, or you're at least wondering, like, okay, well, what was she doing down there? Blah, 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 blah. So I was really happy that they actually like called that out. I think that
Yeah,
that again shows sort of the savviness of the Kardashians, where they know that people are going to spin out certain headlines and commentary from the things that they reveal on the show. And I took that as like them already getting ahead of it in order to protect her because
yeah.
they spent a good amount of time talking about Kim being happy that she didn't come upstairs, how that would have ended if she had come upstairs. Like, they definitely went to great lengths and took a lot of care, I think, to sort of like exonerate her from anything that people were about to say. And I found that really fascinating.
I do too. And I guess that's the one part where, yeah, there's absolutely, I'm not, uh, there's no fault at all, right?
No.
But I guess my one question would even be just the location to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, why even stay at an apartment like that? Like that,
Yeah.
I guess, is my biggest question is that if I'm Kim Kardashian, why am I not staying at the penthouse in the most prestigious, right? And I'm going through the back door in the kitchen and a private elevator to my penthouse suite. Like that, I
But
guess, is my only question.
that is actually what I felt was confusing because the Kardashian women kept referring to it as an apartment, but
Correct.
then her best friend referred to it as a hotel. And
Hmm.
if you remember, the concierge
There was a
came
concierge.
up and was held at gunpoint. I
Right.
think it could just be more of a function of like, I've, been to France a couple of times. It is common that you like would rent an apartment maybe, instead of a hotel, or maybe
Yep.
they're just maybe they're like conflating terminology.
Sure.
For me, the fact that there was a concierge there says that, okay, yes, maybe it wasn't like a traditional hotel, but clearly there was someone like manning the front
The,
desk,
the, the
you
front
know?
desk. Yeah.
But to that point, actually, that's what was sort of interesting to hear post the case, right? Is them just talk about what their security detail
Mm-hmm.
was like back then and how it is impacted. And it is kind of fascinating to think about that all of those years back, they were traveling with like one security person,
Okay.
like it's crazy.
And this is where I just want to say this. Kardashian this week had a Skims live on TikTok, right? Whether or not it was live, who knows? But it was basically like QVC, Kyle Richards was on it. It was a hoot. Anyway, Kim, she's a marketing genius. But
Yes.
a lot of the comments on the clips that were posted post live were like, why? If I'm Kim Kardashian, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like what and I think this is why. Because your nut is so large. You're
Yeah.
paying security detail, you have a private jet. I was listening to something the other day with Odell Beckham Jr. I think he was saying a private, like to fly private is $20,000 an hour. So if you go round trip from New York to London, that could potentially be $300,000 or something like
Easily.
that. Easy, right? And so when you get to a place where you're Kim Kardashian and you are traveling all over, and it was so funny on Hulu. I don't know what was it. She was wearing those jewels, I think, and she looked at production and she was like, "It's only 20 million. Like
Yeah.
that's not bad for the top show." And I'm thinking to myself, that's why too, because you know that like you've got to keep every single coin that you have
In
because
order to maintain the lifestyle.
if not,
100%.
people will gun you down in the street. I mean, like
Yeah.
literally, she has to fly private. She has to be behind a gate in wherever she lives in LA. And it's like that is so crazy. So yeah, she has to continue to hustle because that
Yeah.
train isn't going to stop, right? She could potentially have to sustain this till she's 80.
That's what I find so interesting too about like the Courtney dynamic. Like I just would love to know the financial breakdown of Travis and Courtney's
Oh my
relationship.
God, same. And
I
also,
mean,
yeah.
obviously
And
Travis is supporting her
well,
because let's be real,
also,
Courtney hasn't left the house in 2 years.
but then also, sorry, not to tangent on that, but the Alabama of it all, because of the fact that I don't know if I don't follow Alabama on TikTok, but I know enough to know she has a house that she got herself when she was 19 somewhere in Beverly Hills. She doesn't ever want to be there. And she'll talk about it. I love my dad. I'm such a daddy's girl. I never want to
Yeah.
leave my dad's house. But the tea is that she throws parties at her dad's house. Like she's constantly on live with like 10 people in her room as
Yeah,
she's like doing her hair. And I'm just thinking to myself, no wonder Courtney and Travis don't live together. Like, there's no way that Courtney's like in the next room as Alabama has
is
10
doing.
men.
Although apparently I think they do live together now, right? She's been like renovating that new house, and I heard that they are supposed to be living together, I think. But
I
I
don't
wouldn't be
know.
surprised if they were still keeping two different
Separate.
properties.
Well, I guess, yeah, there's so much I don't want to go into deep because the Scott of it all and the moving to New York, there's a lot to unpack there.
But look, to get back to your point, I think you're absolutely right. I think that there is an element of they have set things up in such a way where if they don't keep fueling that machine, other things are going to have to change. And the reality is your level of fame is not really going to change, right?
Thank
So
you.
what you're at risk for is probably still going to be there unless you just completely remove yourself from the limelight. And even
Right.
then, I think it would take some time for people to just stop caring, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was a really interesting episode. Smart of them to dive deep.
Oh, I think so too. And I think the most, to put a bow on that, and bless you, the Kanye of it all probably was the most, and
Horrifying. I can't believe he said that to her.
you wonder too, like this is the thing about Kanye. And I'm a Kanye, I mean, listen, Nicole, we used to bang that
Oh
CD.
yeah.
You graduation, like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
point being, sometimes I do wonder how much of that it is hard with Kanye because as a former fan, it is hard for me to understand how much of that is his illness, how much of that is him being that way, right? Was he even clear or uh I don't know what that word is. I can't think of it. Lucid? Was he lucid when he was saying that stuff to Kim? Or was he literally like hearing voices? Like, I don't know, but it's just sad.
I think for me, it's also like triggering sometimes watching that stuff because it's also just that reminder. And like, we're still in a we all hate women world, but it just like takes you back to that time a little bit where like
Mm.
even 9 years ago, that was still happening. Like, people hated her so much back then, you know? And like, that is why that narrative popped up. Like, I think she definitely is perceived better now, obviously, than 9 years ago. And I think like when she got with Kanye too, like she was sort of treated as a joke, you know. So I had kind of forgotten about that, you know, that basically a lot of people didn't believe her.
Well,
That
I was thinking about that too. The costume. Do you remember the Halloween costume that came out? And it was like a big white t-shirt, a long wig, handcuffs, and it was called like celebrity something. Anyway, they made a
yeah,
Halloween costume of Kim Kardashian being held at gunpoint, which is just so distasteful. But to your point, yes, the narrative at the time was this is false. She's making this up. They'll do anything for fame, and I do think that that's the great part about. There's a court case. There's real
yeah,
crime. This is not
there's proof.
fabricated. It's just ridiculous to even think that as a mother of four or three that you would even do that.
I was disappointed, although obviously like I think it was obvious this would be the case, but I would have loved to have seen some footage inside the courtroom purely because of that
Mm.
fact that she had to stand there for 6 hours. I
Like,
can't believe that when they were like, oh, and you have to stand. Like, could you imagine having to stand up for 6 hours while giving testimony? I don't know. I thought that was really crazy, but yeah, I guess good for her that she can do that. My feet would be killing me. There's no way.
well, and I think too, like, to say this about Kim Kardashian in general, it's like, do I think Kim Kardashian is a person that I'll sit my daughters down and I'll say, here's a role model for, like, no.
You're
However,
not going to?
uh, Kim Kardashian can do and has done whatever she wants.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually meant to send you this video. I'll have to find. It was just like a reel that I thought made a really good like great the whole like purpose of the point of the reel was that if you really think about it, like the Kardashians are the like antithesis of patriarchy.
Oh, yes, yes,
Did you see
yes.
that?
Yes. Yes.
How like they are representative of like what it actually would look like if we fully did away with it, right?
Right.
Because they are fully independent.
Right.
They are living their personal lives the way they want to live their personal lives with full autonomy. So it's kind of fascinating. I think in that way they don't get enough credit as role models. So that was kind of the point of the video, right? It was like they're always getting bashed for all of these things, but that if you really think about it, they're actually a great example of what it could be like for women if the patriarchy was
Okay,
done away
so
with.
that video, when I said I'll save it for the Kardashians, this is exactly what I was going to bring up that video and draw a point back
Sister
to.
connection.
Yeah, just got you, girl. But I was going to draw a connection back to the Whitney of it all
Yeah.
and say that or if you're on TikTok listeners, you'll know Avery Woods. That name will mean something to you. Similar situation, right? Where, Avery is like a nurse living in Arizona, posting on TikTok, doing her thing. Her husband's a police officer. She's retired that man. They live in the Hollywood Hills. He's, her ride or die. He takes
Yeah.
care of the kids. And I think it's the similar thing where it's like, to go back to the point that I was making about celebrities in Whitney's DMs, right? It's like, yeah, that's true too. She's a mom, right? There is that, you could be putting your family out there. But then there's this other beautiful side where it's like, her husband is like, okay, where are the bags? Let's go. Do the thing. You're on Dancing with the Stars, bouquets every single week. I'm here for you, baby.
Yeah.
Like I'll hold down the kids. And there's something so beautiful about that. We are kind of moving into this more acceptance of like, yeah, like if your husband is down to just support you and see your dreams come true, and that's ultimately going to benefit the both of you, like, yes, like, let's do that. And I do think that that's what the Kardashians have done. Like,
Yeah.
Kendall
And
Jenner,
also to your point back in Whitney, like that is what I love about Dad Talk. It was really funny to me, like, on all these reunions, they always show them arriving to the studio ahead of the reunion. I mean, so they show like Mom Talk all arriving. And then a few
Mhm.
minutes later, Dad Talk comes rolling through, and Zach Affleck is pushing a stroller. He's like all the other men opening the door. He pushes the stroller chute. They show him backstage. He's burping the infant. Okay. I'm like, I
as
love
he
that
should.
this is what's happening for the men backstage so that these women can get in glam, get ready. Like it was crack. It's just such a turn, right? From like what we've had to normally experience and see. And it made
100%.
me smile. All of Dad Talk basically is what you're saying. They're all just being supported by their wives. Most of them now I think when the show started, had jobs, and like Zach, I know is like not doing anything anymore. I'm not really sure what Whitney husband. It seems like all of them have just become full-time supporters,
Well, you know
really,
what?
of their wives.
I'll say this. Sometimes people think like, oh, if you're a stay-at-home mom, like, what would you do all day? Or like stay-at-home dad, like, what will you do all day? And it's fascinating to me the days now because I've been out of a job,
Yeah,
right? So essentially that's what I am, except for, I do have kids that go to school. So it's, hello, I'm doing a podcast right now.
yeah,
But it is sometimes like there is a lot to do, like, especially if you have more than one child, it just
totally.
in like house responsibilities alone. I think that sometimes people underestimate how much you can fill up your day just taking the kids to school, picking the kids up,
Yeah,
making the lunches, like that, all cleaning. Like I know that's
yeah.
good. Let the men do that.
Actually, to your point, though, what is sort of funny about, just like, yes, I agree with you that there is so much that has to be taken care of in a household and all of that. On season 3, there's this moment where they show Whitney and Jen's husbands finding out that they are, maybe going to get Dancing with the Stars. And so they're sitting there in LA, and it's them just celebrating and talking about all the things that they're going to do with the kids in LA. So it's not so much like that is, I think, sometimes, again, the difference in male and female roles.
Yes.
They're not like, oh, this will be so great because I'm gonna be at home and whatever. It's like, no, we'll take them to the La Brea Tar Pits and then we could take them here and then whatever. So it's just them being like absolutely ecstatic that they're gonna be like house husbands together and basically have
Yeah.
all of this opportunity to explore LA, which kind of cracks me up because I do think if the roles were switched, that wouldn't necessarily be the case for women, to your point.
Totally.
But
Totally.
whatever, I still have to hand it to Dad Talk. Okay, let's get out of the Hulu universe because I believe you've been watching one of the hot new shows on HBO. I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Heated rivalry, y'all. Heated
Everyone is talking about this
rivalry.
show. I have
Um,
to watch.
so it's on HBO. It is not prestige in any way. So just it is a Hulu. No, it's a Netflix show on HBO.
How does that happen? I thought HBO was supposed to deliver us prestige television.
No, this is not that. I think total, like if you were to look at the script and look at total words said during these two episodes, I'm not sure we could fill out 2 pages.
So
It
did
is
AI write the
basically,
script?
I mean, it's basically just like, you're such an asshole. Come over here. Are you gonna me? Like it's that's it. And it just is over. And they don't make you wait for not 1 second for a sex scene. They bring that on very early into the first episode. In general, Heated Rivalry is a book. I don't know exactly when it came out. I'm going to say sometime in the last 5 years. So this is based on original IP, which is really interesting because, a lot of what we see now is like either reality TV or some like rewrite of
Yeah.
like a Sherlock Holmes thing we've seen a million times. Anyway, so yeah, it's two guys. They are both one's from the United States, one's from Russia. They're hockey players, and they are both at the top of their game in their respective
Okay. So
country.
they're competitors
So
basically.
they're competitors. And it's just, one of the things I will say is this is like when I was growing up, there were shows like Undressed on MTV. What was another one? Queer as Folk. That was on
Yeah, I remember that.
HBO. The L Word. They've recently, in the last couple of years, come back with like a new generation of the L Word. Watch that whole thing too. Love that. With the old ladies as well. Not the old ladies, like
Yeah,
former cast members as well. But looking on HBO from a couple of years ago,
I remember that.
what was that? Jonathan Groff, I think, was
Yep.
on.
Yep.
So there's definitely been programming, right? But it's just nice sometimes to see something that is like, Looking was very serious. Queer as Folk had a lot of serious stuff, right? Like this is really just two boys, two men, falling in love, having sex and like dating. And like that's just not something that I've ever seen. There was a movie on Netflix that came out like Red, White, and Blue maybe
Yeah.
2 years ago that was kind of a similar vibe, right? But it's kind of just a palate cleanser for me of like, yeah, why can't we tell these stories?
I'm gonna have to watch it. Well, breaking news actually, because I know we're just talking about HBO and I know we're
Yes.
gonna talk about Netflix next. Netflix is going to acquire Warner Brothers apparently, and Warner Brothers owns HBO. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna have to see. I wonder how that's gonna affect HBO programming. Is
Wow.
HBO programming gonna become more like Netflix? That's gonna suck.
I know.
I'm kind of bummed out by this. I bet some people are excited, but no, I think
know.
separation is good. That's gonna be weird. I don't
Oh,
want the Netflix model applied
um,
to HBO.
I don't either, but you know what sorry to finish the not to I'm not talking about Heated Rivalry, but I was going to make a note about that I was going to bring up in general to you, which is so Heated Rivalry and a couple of other shows. Oh, I know the one. Benny Overcompensating on Amazon Prime by
Okay.
Benny guy who's very big on TikTok, and it's about him. He's a gay man. It's about like him being in college, whatever. So that show, Overcompensating, much like the Heated Rivalry show, which is something that I know I've seen in other shows, but now I can't think of any other examples, is they're setting them in the early 2000s. So
Mm,
you're in 2005, maybe going into 2011. And so that's really interesting because I think script writers or storytellers are struggling with is like, how do I honestly tell this story when we're living in a world where this exists? And
yeah.
the reality is that this situation would have never happened that way because of the fact that like Instagram is real, right? And
Yeah.
so they have to now set these stories in a time where there was no Instagram. And
Because
that
otherwise, yeah.
Right, and that affects the score and the music that you're listening to. And so I
Totally.
do think for millennials, it might be a lot more fun to be watching. For me, it's a fun experience because not only am I seeing this love story, but I'm seeing them text on a BlackBerry. You know what I mean? And try to do that little, BBM. Oh my God, remember BBM? Anyway, so
Nostalgia never goes out of style.
it doesn't, and it's fun, and it brings in the demographic of people that I would imagine they're trying to bring in with these shows,
Yeah,
right?
I think millennials definitely own the moment right now,
We
like
do.
culturally. I know Gen Z thinks they do, but all of their stuff is just recycled millennial stuff. So
I think
it's
a lot of
it's it's really us. But yeah, okay, we're gonna have to talk about this acquisition more next week because I
yeah.
I, I need to dig in. This is not, I don't know. I don't feel good about this.
Also, what does that mean for like employees at these places too?
I don't know. I think they might actually be shuttering HBO as part of it, a part of the acquisition. That would be
Oh,
awful. I
that
hope they
you
don't do
really didn't
away.
want to do that?
I think that would be so short-sighted to shutter a brand like that.
I
Like to
know.
your point, HBO is sort of synonymous with like prestige
It
television.
is. It
So
is.
I would hope that they would honor that in some way. All right, well, okay, let's jump over to Netflix because they have a lot of interesting stuff going on, but I think right now I am most into, well, I just finished it actually, the Puff Daddy documentary produced by his arch nemesis, 50 Cent.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you're only an episode in. I finished yesterday. It's just so awful. It's so awful. Like, I think that, by now the world knows he is a criminal. He's been tried. He's gone to jail. I think for me, what it reveals is just like outside of the, whatever was deemed criminal behavior or not, he's such a terrible person.
Oh,
Like
I know
like
he has
that,
so
it's
few
like the
redeeming
nuance of
qualities.
the stories that's terrifying, actually.
Yeah.
Like some of the more violent things or the times when he was part of someone's murder, you're like, not like you're giving that a pass, but you're almost like, okay, well, I already know that, right? It's the smaller, like more sinister things that they uncover about him. And I don't want to give too much away, but the last episode really does dig in on the court case
Right.
and how much he was able to use a PR machine basically to influence the outcome. You get to see some of the jurors. Um, but I think for me, like the craziest thing, in realizing that, like he got a light sentence, like that's my opinion, right? And I think that was how they viewed it too. It was a win. But I had said to my boyfriend last night, you get to the end of the documentary and you're like, 50 Cent has done a better job of prosecuting Puff Daddy in this documentary than they did in court. Like, I personally think if you watch this documentary, I hope people do. Like, I don't see how he has any career that he is coming back to because
That,
it's not
okay.
just about these criminal acts. Like, you're watching it and realizing that he is like a soulless person. And I just wanted to give 50 Cent his props
Yeah.
for actually being the one to say what probably should have been the case in court, right? Like this is the full picture that they should have painted in court, and it clearly did not happen.
So I honestly, by the end of the first episode and with everything that I've you know seen, I honestly think that this literally is just about 50 Cent. I think this is literally just about 50 Cent being like, if I don't ruin this man for the rest of the world, I am looking at a world where in 7 years I have to stand next to him at a Grammy party. I don't want to. I don't ever want to have to do that ever again.
No.
No, I am putting out this documentary. I don't want it. I don't want any parts. And that's especially with the footage that he was able to get from Diddy, of Diddy, right? It's just it's diabolical. And I do think too, I don't know anything about 50 Cent. For all I know, he has his own skeletons. I guess
Oh
with
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he's for sure had his own wretched shenanigans, but yeah.
dalliances, I'm sure. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, just respect that uh uh I even think when Megan the Stallion got shot, I do think maybe 50 Cent came out and said something about that. Like I do want to put that out there that like maybe he made some sort of derogatory comment about
Yes,
that or
I do
whatnot.
remember that. I think,
So,
yeah,
this man is someone who we do not want to say he's believing women, right?
yeah,
However, this whole thing is centered on the abuse of mostly women. Obviously, there were some men that were abused in this process as well.
yeah.
Some sex workers. But yeah, I just love the fact that here's this other man coming out and making a document. No one did that with Harvey. Everyone came out and said, like, oh, back in the day, Brad Pitt stood up for Gwyneth Paltrow and, he made sure that she was never. And it's like, what Brad Pitt should have done? Made a documentary about Harvey
Totally.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Some
just
man should have come out and
end it
done that.
there.
Yeah. Like, thank you to 50 Cent for
I
that.
agree. I mean, I think like, the other thing I'll say too is like for me watching it, it just brought back a lot of memories of watching the R. Kelly documentaries because there was a few
Mm,
different ones that came out. And I think what is sort of like to me the sad thing in both of these situations is that a large part of why this perpetuated is because of what they meant to Black culture
yeah.
and what they did for Black people and that movement and music and all of
Absolutely.
that. And like that reality is why they were able to continue with their crimes, right? Like that to me is the part of the story that is just sad, right? Because it has been challenging and continues to be challenging for Black people in Hollywood, in the
Mm,
music industry, right? Like they're starting with a disadvantage. And I think like what Puff Daddy represented was like you can break through those walls, right?
right.
Like you can be in control. You can be just as famous as these white people are, right? Like he was sort of a symbolic of that. Same thing with R. Kelly, right? But like
Yeah.
that reality is also why they can were able to continue their bad behavior for so long. And as you get deeper into the episodes, like that starts to come through a little bit more when they're interviewing like people that were working for Puff Daddy, like his assistant or, like just different managers and things like that that they had where they're not saying it explicitly, but I don't think they realize how bad they're coming off because some of them are basically admitting, um, not directly, but you can kind of piece it together, that they did kept quiet because they knew what he meant for the culture.
Right.
Like they didn't want to be the person
Right. To tear him down.
responsible for blowing up what a lot of people looked
Yeah.
to as a guiding light for how you can find success in this industry, right?
100%.
And I think that part is just sad because like I do understand it. I understand how like if you have so few people to look at as representation for a path forward in entertainment, I get not wanting to blow that up or take that away from a group of people, but that is sort of the dirty little, element in all of this is that like that's why it continued
And
because
it's
people didn't
so
want their idols to go
abominable.
away, and
And
I think I think that Puff Daddy knew that and exploited that.
uh, yes. And I do think about too, it makes me think about Michael Jackson. It makes me think about Elvis Presley. It makes me think about Jay-Z.
Yeah.
These men who are titans in this industry, whose words have permeated culture. I mean, there are Jay-Z lyrics that we will remember that will show up other places that will, I mean, he is such a huge, if he fell tomorrow and we said, no more listening to anything that this man has ever done or touched, that would be a huge part of our like hip hop discography, not only
Totally.
from his own, but then the influence of
Yeah.
his not only lyricism, but just the general, the way that he's such a businessman.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think again, when like this all started to come out and there were whisperings around Jay-Z, it's no mystery to me why he came out so fast and fervently to say absolutely not me, not me. But to your
Yeah.
point, yeah, it makes it do, not does it make me sad? No, it doesn't make me sad, but I'll say this, the J-Lo and P. Diddy era produced some of P. Diddy's best personal music, right?
Yeah.
And we used to bang, I Need a Girl, I Need a Girl
Yeah.
Too, Usher,
Oh my God.
the music video. Are you kidding me? Like that was such, yeah. And so there are so many, and even Danity Kane, I Need Her
Totally. You and
Too,
I were
like that
huge
was
Danity Kane fans.
huge in the culture. He was regarded as like the hit maker. You want
Right.
to you want to have a career in this particular, kind of like hip hop pop arena, right?
Yep.
Like go to P Diddy. So I do think it's just and look, you look at Jay-Z right now and it's like, hello, the last five Super Bowls have had so much, or three Super Bowls have had so much better representation because he's at the helm saying, yeah, it's going to be Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
There's no more denying Bad Bunny. He is an international superstar. He is one of the biggest artists. It would be silly if we simply didn't have him on the stage because his music isn't all in English. Get
Yeah.
out of here. So yeah, it makes me scared for other people. But the reality is that if you've done this stuff, you need to be cut out like a cancer. Unfortunately, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
stand.
made me very curious to see what will happen when he gets
Yeah,
out of jail and what that will be like for him.
yeah.
Well, okay, let's end in one of our favorites. We got to move it over to the Bravo universe.
Oh my
Last
goodness.
night, premiere of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
The
We're
ladies are back.
just getting started. I actually don't feel like there's like a ton to dissect yet,
We're
like
starting
to me it
slow.
definitely feel like one of those, very obviously a first episode.
Yep.
I guess the thing that struck me the most is the editing. I don't know, like, okay, and this is something that's been really interesting to watch progress with the Housewife franchises because I don't know the ins and outs, so I would be curious. But to me, it very much seems like obviously there are different production and editing crews per franchise, right?
Okay.
And I
Yes.
feel like the way that Salt Lake came on the scene and that the editing was being done, that started to change very quickly how some of the other shows were then edited, right?
Right.
Because Salt Lake was well received. I think people were loving some of the ways that they were doing the intros, just some of the weird kind of like asides that they do and things like that. So I feel like that's sort of like trickled down now where like every franchise, not every, because I don't see this as much in Potomac, but definitely like Beverly Hills, some like Atlanta, like it has affected how they're starting to structure the show.
Right.
So every season is sort of like now a new take on whatever this, form of editing is going to be. So for Beverly Hills, I'm like, okay, let's see. Like this is going to be really interesting. We have Kyle now like fully post the Mo thing. Dorit and PK are clearly not getting back together. But like, what was that intro? I just feel like they're trying to like sell us on like, oh,
Uh,
it's like selling Sunset and like no
yeah.
offense, but
It's fresh
the women on Selling Sunset are like at least 10 years younger, if not
and more.
20 in some instances. Like
Right.
and first of all, I mean, Erica Jane looks amazing washing that car. So it's not like you're looking at her thinking, "Oh, what is this grandma doing washing this car?" But
But
I'm just not sure if it's like fitting the vibe of what we know about these women. I don't know.
that
Did you notice it or did it not bother you?
Minkoff, Crystal Minkoff was on
Yeah.
a podcast the other day, and she was talking about when she was on the Beverly Hills, and she was getting coached on going to BravoCon.
Yeah.
How the ladies were like, "We stay to ourselves. We are the elite group. We do
Yeah.
not do what other groups do. This is
We're
Beverly.
Beverly Hills.
We play differently." And so, to your point, that is what I was thinking. I was like, ladies, you are the most prestige that we have out of
The most wealth.
the
They're gonna
most
have the
wealth.
most expensive trips. Did you see the trips where they're gonna be going on? Like
You
it's
put any
no
of
other
this,
Housewives franchise is going to that elite of locations.
and I'm sorry, but like this is and Beverly Hills is exactly like you go to Italy and you sit down, and everyone in the world thinks that Dorit is a dingbat and she breaks out perfect Italian.
I
Do you know what I'm
know.
saying? It's just like, yeah, like you ladies are so far and away above, like you do not need to be doing any of this. Like you
It
don't need
was
to.
I just thought it was strange. I just look, and it's
It was
not to
weird.
say like, of course we need those intros, of course we need those montage moments.
Eye
I
catching.
just didn't feel like it was authentic or rang true to like what this franchise represents and what's it's like supposed to be. I feel like they're just really trying to cram it down our throats that like that it's totally normal that like all of them are single now. So like to that point,
That's
I'm
fair.
sure you caught this too. Did you catch Bo's in the car with Keely where he was like, "Oh, are there guys gonna be there?" And she's like, "What guys? They ain't got no guys." But if you think about like where this franchise started, like it used to be married women, right? Like with Lisa
The
Rinna,
most
like,
married.
and now we're just at this, and that's where I feel like that's why the editing is changing. I feel like
Agree.
they're trying to like show to us like, okay, this is a different thing now. This is more about wealthy women in their 50s, 40s, who don't have husbands, who are divorced, and I get that. Like you have to just follow what's happening to your cast members. But again, not that. Like
Well,
I
and also
don't know.
too, I think the realization and that I was thinking about to your point about when when Bo said the men thing, and never will they ever again.
Yeah.
Because even Kyle with Morgan, she brought Morgan on for one season and realized what that was going to do to that relationship again. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, hold on. Actually, I don't like it. I don't."
Revert, 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 revert.
So never again, these women will not show their boyfriends. They will not show their girlfriends. We will not be seeing that because they all have been burned by that. Like
Yeah.
Dorit's not gonna. Maybe Dorit. I could see maybe Dorit.
I think Erica might if it was a serious relationship, but I agree with
Yeah.
you. Like, I don't see Kyle doing it. I don't see Rachel Zoe doing it if something happened to
No, we're
her.
never gonna get Kathy's husband. We're never gonna get Rick on. Not
No.
nor do we need that, but we're never gonna see him.
Well,
So it's
actually, I would like to see Rick because I just saw in the news that apparently Rick defended the household with a shotgun. Did you see that story? They had a break-in, and I guess Rick shot somebody with a
what is
shotgun or something.
ooh, are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, the Hilton family, let's be real. Okay, so what did you think of Rachel Zoe? Because
Yeah, I
you
know. Rachel.
watched her show,
I
right?
sure
We
did. I
remember
love
we,
her
yeah, I
show.
think we watched it together.
That
Like,
was
I
where
was
Brad came
obsessed
from.
with that
Brad.
show. Obsessed.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, I used to abs Taylor and Brad and them fighting. And then, yeah, like, oh my God, I used to love the Rachel Zoe project.
I think it's great casting for her to be on.
I
One thing I
agree.
picked up on that I wanted to see if you caught too. Did you happen to watch What Happens Live after?
Oh,
So, okay, I felt like it sort of confirmed something I was already thinking. Kyle was on with like a US senator, and one of the audience members asked a question, or I think it was like a comment, and they kind of said, like, oh, and I'm just so, like, to Kyle, they were like, I'm just so excited that Rachel Zoe is on, that we get to see your friendship unfold. And Kyle kind of like, not full on winced, but just kind of like it wasn't an enthusiastic face, right?
okay.
And Kyle, she's a true professional, right? So she's not giving a lot away with her
Mhm.
face,
Mhm.
but I definitely got the vibe that like there's a reason that Kyle and Rachel aren't friends. I just thought that whole introduction was so interesting where Kyle was like, "Oh yeah, I know Rachel. We know the same people, blah 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 blah." It's like, "Yeah, you've all been living in the same place for 20 plus years. So if you guys are not friends and she's
There's a
friends with
reason.
your sister,
Yeah.
then there's a reason."
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like the reason I'm already upset about this is I feel like we're not going to get it this season. I don't think we're actually going to get the reason. I
I don't think
feel
so.
like we're just going to see a lot of like fake nice
Interaction.
interactions with
Okay.
Rachel and Kyle, and that because of them both having like the status that they have, we're never really going to get to the thick of like why that's not a bigger friendship. I could be
And
wrong.
I wonder if we won't see that come through this season when we start to see the interaction between Kyle and Bose, because I
Yeah,
think to your point, that's exactly what happened last season, where it was like Kyle was like tiptoeing. Like there were a couple of things that I think she wanted to kind of come at Bose for, but she was like, I'm gonna let that be a season two endeavor. So you're right.
totally.
It might just be, and we'll see that because now if we do see Kyle kind of pushing back on Bose season two,
Yeah,
we'll know that that was true. If she continues
totally.
to kind of okay, it is 10:21. I'm gonna let's wrap so I can figure out if I'm gonna do this interview or not. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I
Yeah,
also
it was a good first episode. I'll
it
be
was
honest. I think when I was like seeing some of the trailers and things like that, I was like, I don't know how excited I am about Real
agreed.
Housewives for Beverly Hills this year. Obviously, it ended really weird with Garcelle, and like I just still think that's so unsettled. And so it made me like when I saw that they were going to be casting the two new girls, of course I was excited about Rachel Zoe. This other one I could care less about. So I don't know. I was like iffy on whether I was going to watch it, but I think I'm already hooked. I do feel like they've
I
pulled me
agree.
back in. So we're
I
going to have
agree.
to keep talking about this one for sure. Good
And
first episode, but we'll see.
there's so much like it's so funny because we go through this all the time where it's like we're sitting there lamenting there's nothing on television and then suddenly it's an embarrassment of riches and everything
I
is on.
know. listeners, it was so, like I said, it was so, we honestly, I could have picked 3 or 4 more things for us to talk about this
I know
week,
I
but I
wanted to
just,
go into so many different tangents, but I'm like, ugh, like even that video of the woman talking about the patriarchy and matriarchy of the Kardashians, I could talk about that for 20 minutes. Like I have so
I
much to
know,
say.
I know. And yeah, and now like owning Manhattan's back so, so much. We'll bring it into next week, listeners. We hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Love you, sis.
Love you
Talk soon.
too.
Bye, listeners.
Bye.
Bye.